Good evening, everyone, and a massive, massive welcome. The first thing I want to say is that it's gone back to winter here in North Devon. You know, we've had absolutely the most amazing summer ever, and then all of a sudden it's gone right back to winter, and it's incredibly dark in this room. And we've had the light mended today, but yeah, it's not great. So I do apologise that we are a little bit dark. But you know, we've had so much lovely, nice sun streaming through our windows. It hasn't been a problem for a while, but I think we do need to sort out our lighting.
Yeah, with the best will in the we've got 3 lights on us, and it doesn't seem to have helped. So you'll just have to hear the light in our voices.
Absolutely, we will light you up another way. So it's really, really, really great to have you with us. Thank you very much, and a huge thank you for those of you that took part in our 5-day self-love challenge. It was just absolutely brilliant. We were blown away with the amazing interaction and the gorgeous things that people in the group were sharing. So a huge thank you. And a little bit about tonight is we're going to kind of round up what we found and what we saw during that 5-day challenge, because relationships are a huge thing for both me and Bec. That was where we had a lot of insights and where things have massively changed for us. And the other thing that we wanted to tell you about, a couple of people asked us, you know, what else we're up to, and we're actually starting a 90-day relationship challenge. So we're going to tell you a little bit about that and round up what we found from the 5-day challenge.
Well, I'm brimming with excitement about the 90-day challenge. They're my favourite things ever, and that started on the 12th of August, and we've got a really special bonus to tell you about, so we'll tell you a little bit more about that later.
Yeah.
But we'll start with some stuff around what kind of came out of the 5 days self-love challenge. So I think, Deb, you want to start with the...
Well, we talked a little bit about the thought-feeling connection. And yeah, so we were trying to kind of point you towards that, trying to sort of see how, and it was amazing with the challenges that we set. They were fairly clear challenges, you know, to share something beautiful. And isn't it amazing how our head can start even with something as simple as that, and how sometimes our head will just go, oh yeah, this is beautiful, plonk, you know, post, and another time it will go, well, yeah, this is beautiful, but is this the right kind of beautiful thing? Is this the beautiful thing that they meant me to post? Will I look stupid if I post this thing? Will other people not think this is beautiful? It's really, and we kind of pointed towards the fact that, you know, beauty, you know, and what we see as beauty can change from moment to moment, and how we react when we're asked to post something, what we're asked to do, you know, what our minds can do. So yeah, we wanted to point out and remind you, because I know for myself, sometimes when my head starts doing something, I completely forget about the thought-feeling connection. You know, if my head starts going off on one, I'm just there believing what my head is telling me, and believing and taking that to be a truth, and completely forgetting that what is going on for me in that moment is I'm having some thinking. I forget that the thoughts and feelings are connected. So that was, yeah, what we were kind of getting across to you and reminding you of, because I know I love to be reminded of that, so that when my head starts doing a number on me, I know what's going on.
Yeah, I found this morning, actually, well, last night and this morning, I had a lot of thinking going on for me. Nothing at all particular was happening. It just, I noticed I was having a lot of thinking, and the feelings that were coming with that were intense, you know, and it was really nice to kind of, it's only been, what day are we? Tuesday. So it's only been a week since we were in the midst of the 5 days. And already I'm kind of like, oh yeah, thoughts, feelings. I've forgotten again that the real connection that's going on between those two things that looks so convincing, that somebody outside of me makes me feel a certain way, or somebody outside of me hasn't done the right thing today or yesterday or whatever it might be. And it was just, it came back to me again this morning. Oh yeah, we were pointing to that just last week, weren't we? When we looked at some of those challenges, and the one last week that particularly for me was a bit like, oh, this is a tricky one. Oh, what am I going to share here? Was the one where we asked you to share kind of we termed it a guilty pleasure, but that kind of thing that you maybe hide from other people because you feel like you're going to get judged, or I know I do this, I make a joke about things about myself. Oh, you know, I'm a bit of a geek about this, and I laugh at myself to try and ward off other people's judgment of me. And that really came out for me again last week during the 5 days, is how easily we can get into the story of, oh, it's not okay for me to be myself, I must pretend I'm something else, or I must hide these things from people. And even that is like the connection there between thought and feeling. It's not other people judging me or appearing to judge me that causes my feelings. It's my thinking about whatever it is that I'm afraid to share, for example. And that really came out for me again last week on the 5 days. So I loved that. Yeah, so the other thing that we kind of talked a lot about last week was this okayness or peace or sort of space within us, that beyond that thought, those thoughts we've just been talking about, that's within us, and that's available to every single human being. And we really, again, over those 5 days, wanted to point that out to you if you've not heard that idea before, or if you've heard it and it's a really nice reminder again, that every single one of us, beyond the thinking that we have moment to moment, there's a place or a space within us that's already okay and that's already peaceful.
Yeah, the reason that sharing around relationships is so dear to my heart is because when I was in trouble in my life, when I was really, not in a great place and messing up things, it was all around relationships. I had, in a nutshell, me and my children ended up in a women's refuge, and we had a lot of counselling and a lot of help after that, before I found that place of okayness within me. And I can, really see, if I go back to those days, it felt as if my thinking was continually telling me that I wasn't okay, and my children weren't okay, and life wasn't okay, and what was happening wasn't okay. And it felt as if I didn't have an awareness of this deeper peace within me. And yet, what I've really, really seen is, once that was kind of pointed out to me, once I started to look for that, I started to notice it. I notice it everywhere now. And what I can honestly say as well is, when I look back to those days, I can actually see the evidence that it was always there. Even during those really, really difficult times, that okayness that all of us have was actually still there. I can actually see the evidence that it was always there. So for me, it was like, when I first saw that, it blew my mind slightly. And then when I lost it, when I got caught in my thinking, and I was like, oh my gosh, where's it? It's gone, that's it. The okayness is gone, and I thought it was always there. And so, if that is new for you, then, hold the faith with that, because all of us have that all the time, no matter what is going on. And I have found that invaluable, being able to come back to that quiet place within me when all sorts of things go on in my life, when little things, like when it appears that someone else is just annoying the life out of me, or something, that you might class as really serious. I have a small grandson, and what it's like with small children in the house, there's ups and downs, and there's been moments when I've been really had my heart in my mouth around things with him, and it's been absolutely beautiful to know that that place is there. And definitely during that challenge, part of what we were doing was kind of pointing you, reminding you of that place, or pointing you to that place for the first time. And so either way, it's a great reminder, and it's a great, kind of starting point to play around with. So.
Yeah, and I know for a few people there was some comments in the group over the 5 days. I think that idea of this okayness within us was quite new for some people, and I think a few people kind of commented and said, we can kind of hear it on an intellectual level. We can kind of see that maybe intellectually something about us is okay, but we haven't maybe seen that insightfully, as we might say. So I think it's really, really nice just to get together tonight and kind of point to that. in a kind of group conversational way, because I know for me that was definitely one of the things that helped massively, was to sit in this conversation and kind of remind ourselves about that. And then the invitation is there for you to kind of get curious for yourself, because we don't, something like that that's quite new, something that's maybe you haven't heard before or really thought about before, when you kind of explore that for yourself, and when you see it for yourself rather than just hearing us saying it to you, when you really sit with that and go, can that be true? Is there a place in me where I'm okay beyond the thinking? When we kind of do that for ourselves, that without doubt is what's made the biggest difference for us, is that all these kinds of things we share with you and what we've shared over those 5 days, we've kind of sat with those ourselves and really explored them for us personally, rather than taking anyone else's word for it, even as, explore that, see if it might be true for you. And often, I know Deb always kind of says, when you were first around this kind of conversation, a lot of people talked about this idea of coming home, and that meant nothing to you. There was no kind of resonance with that. So we talk about it as a kind of an okayness or a peace within. If those words don't quite make sense to you, find your words, find what it is for you, because somewhere beyond the words we're using, you'll kind of know what we're pointing to. And it can be a biggie. It can be, this can be quite a big thing we're talking about if you've not in any way looked at this before. But there will be somewhere in you that knows what we're pointing to, this space in you beyond those words. So kind of, play with that, get interested, explore, because it's the knowing of that makes the biggest difference in the kind of day-to-day lives, I think.
Yeah, and exactly like Bec was saying, one of the reasons that we do challenges is to kind of playfully explore. That's why we love doing it. It's kind of a little bit of a what if, and if the idea that you are always okay no matter what seems a little bit far-fetched or ridiculous or whatever for you, then the invitation is kind of like, well, what if? And play with it for yourself, because absolutely nobody else, we can point you to this, other people can talk about this, but other people's words might not be your words. What somebody else might do might not be what you would do, and this is a very personal thing. The thing that I would like absolutely reiterate and say that Bec said is, everybody has this. No human being was left out when this was given out. We all have this capacity within us. And it's kind of sometimes, exactly like Bec said, when I first came across this understanding, a lot of people talked about, oh gosh, I had this feeling of going home. And I don't know, I was just like, oh, what is the feeling of going? I don't know what you mean by that. It doesn't mean anything to me. And I was kind of lost by it for a bit. So I'm very aware that sometimes if we're using words and you're having that experience, kind of going, well, I don't really know what you mean, there will be something in you that does know, or maybe it is like, for me, what made sense in those times was, am I all right even here? So I didn't kind of have this feeling of going home. I had this feeling of, well, I'm all right even here. That was what resonated and made sense for me. And equally, if that doesn't, and this feeling, you kind of have this feeling of recognizing this place and it's comfortable and it feels like home, brilliant, go with that. And very much that is why I love challenges, because I think it opens your mind. It kind of takes you to places within your mind that make sense to you. And that is one of the other things that we pointed towards, what makes you, when we talked about the guilty pleasure that we called it in the challenge, what makes you you? And it looks to me, there is definitely a sameness within all of us. But if you think of a garden, all like flowers and bulbs and plants, they have a sameness, whereas, you put them into the dark soil and then they come up and produce something beautiful. But a garden that only had one type of flower in would look pretty boring. Gardens have amazing things, all sorts of different things come up. And so there's a sameness, the seed, the way that it started, the damp soil, the sunshine, there's a sameness there, but what they actually produce, what is theirs to do, what is theirs to bring to the world is different, and everyone is incredibly special, even if it's not the same, and even if it's not your favorite. But, and you know, each one of you you're unique, you know, you're not me and Bec, and you wouldn't want to be, you know, and you bring something, you know, we might be a tulip and a rose, and you might be a lily, I don't know, but you know, and we need tulips and roses and lilies and all of the flowers. Nobody is any less special because you're not the same in that way. So definitely kind of the reason that we really encourage like the investigation and the playfulness and the challenges is to find your flower, find your beautiful scent, and find how you shine in the world.
Wow. I really like that. I had no idea that was coming out.
Not me. See, this is it. We just
what a fantastic metaphor. I love that. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to say any more on that. I think you've sorted that one. Thanks, Deb. I think the other thing for me that I really wanted to come back to from the 5-day challenge was how, and I think we talked about this in some of the videos and in the emails and stuff, and I'm going to reiterate this, because if you join us again, or if you do decide to come on the 90-day challenge, this is something we're going to kind of reiterate a lot, is the taking part counts. Like, yeah, there's something about, and I noticed this in a few of the kind of comments and things that were happening over the 5 days, we are really, really good sometimes at being kind of tricked into, oh, I don't really quite need to take part, I can see that it would be beneficial, so that's good enough.
Or I think I already know this.
Yeah, kind of. I kind of got this one already, I don't need to actually join in, I don't really need to do whatever it is that the challenge is there asking me to do. And I think we do this kind of stuff a lot, we do the challenges a lot, and without doubt it's the taking part that has made a huge difference for us, regardless of what our thinking can say, and sometimes thinking comes in that way of, oh no, I'm okay with this area, so I don't need to take part. And sometimes it can come in with the oh yeah, I can see why that would be helpful, so therefore I won't actually do it. And we've done, I mean, one of the ones that comes to me when we talk about challenges and how much of a difference it makes actually doing it, was when we did a zip wire a few years ago.
Yep.
And it was we did that because Lucy, my sister, and I had done a skydive a year or so before, and I think after we'd done it, you were a little bit regretful that you hadn't, well, kind of, that you hadn't joined in. So we decided to go for a zip wire, because Deb is petrified of heights, aren't you, Deb?
I think a skydive would have just been a little step too far for me, but I decided that when we decided on the zip wire, and all my family were kind of like, you're never gonna, nobody was, they were all kind of, I don't know why you've paid for it, I don't know why you've bought the ticket and decided to go, because there's no way you'll do this.
Yeah, so what ended up happening was that the zip wire is set up in such a way that you have a go at like a fairly small one, and then you get taken to the bigger one, and when it came to doing the small one, up until about 2 minutes before we were due to do it, I was totally fine. I was like, oh no, I've done a skydive, this is no big deal, as our thoughts can do. And as we were stepping up onto the platform to do the zip wire, I utterly freaked out.
It's really funny.
I had an absolute, I can't do this, I don't want to do this. And I was looking down the kind of route that we were going to go on, and I was there, I can't do it, Deb, I can't do it, I need, and we had about a maybe 30-second exchange, didn't we, where Deb was kind of just having that conversation with me, like we've been talking about, around okay, are you okay here? Can you see beyond that thinking that there's an okayness here? And it took maybe 30 or so seconds for me to calm down a little, and then I was like, oh yeah, I can actually. The thinking's still going on. The thinking's going, don't do this, you're going to die, don't do it. But there was a part of me that could really connect with, I can do this, even with the thinking that I'm having, even though I'm really quite scared, even though I was shaking by this point, and the guy's going, right, next one, oh, it's me, I've got to go. Even with all that going on, there was definitely a part of me that was like, yeah, actually, I can do that.
Mm.
And then what happened, which was hilarious, was we did the little zip wire, and it was fine, and it was all good, and you, I think, quite enjoyed it, didn't you?
Yeah, I was okay
and
with
then
that.
then they take you on this big lorry all the way up the top of the quarry, where it is in Wales, and we're in this lorry. Do you want to share this a little bit, because it's more your story, this part now?
So then that's where I had my freak out, and I was like, I can't do this. And they stop halfway up the quarry because everybody else, well, I don't know if this is true, I'm making that up, but people kind of want to see the view and want to see how high it is they're going. So I'm kind of going, please don't stop, to the poor lady driving the lorry. And then I'm kind of saying, I need to get, when she did stop, and everyone else is looking at the view, I'm kind of like, I need to get out. And I was having a meltdown about doing this whole thing. And then Bec kind of came to me and she said, I know why I freaked out now. She said, because I know exactly what I need to say to you. And Bec just repeated the words that I had shared with her to calm her down because they were my words. It was my thing, I pointed her to exactly, and it absolutely did the trick. Now I wouldn't say I wasn't scared, but I did do the longest and highest zip wire in Europe that day, which was quite a challenge for me. But what Bec was kind of sharing there was the taking part. We would never have known, before we got there onto the side of the quarry, before we did that, we'd made up stories of what this was going to be like, where we were going to be scared, which bits we weren't going to like, which bits we were going to be good at, which bits were going to be okay. And it didn't turn out that way. It wasn't like that when we actually did it. And that, that is one of the reasons, like, we do really, really encourage you to take part in any of these things, because it's really easy to look at something, from the sidelines of a game, be kind of like, oh, I would know what I would do if that happened to me. I know what I would do. And I don't think we're very good at actually, I think we get that wrong more times than we know when we imagine what we would do in certain circumstances, or think we know how we're going to react. And I think there's massive learning in just playing in life, playing around. I don't think it's an accident that we're here and capable of having experiences like this, because I think there's huge value in them. Whoever kind of did this whole thing, I don't think they made mistakes.
No. It feels like this system has been set up extremely well. And every time we think, oh, maybe there was a mistake there, it turns out
maybe there wasn't.
That's just another challenge for us to get our heads around.
An invitation for us to see something more deeply, I think.
Yeah, so I think for us, one of the reasons, I think that story kind of illustrates how easy it can be to sort of go into a challenge and think, oh, I know what's going to happen here, how it's going to go, so I don't actually need to go all the way through with it. But something about actually taking part and going all the way through that, whatever the challenge is, whether it's the one we did at the beginning of the week last week, seeing something beautiful, all the way up to a zip wire or a skydive type of challenge, whatever kind of challenge it is for you, there's definitely something that can shift and give you a different experience when you follow that through, regardless of the thinking that you're having. So I think that was they were the main things we really wanted to bring out from the 5-day challenges, 5-day challenge. So the next bit, we wanted to see if anyone had any questions. I can see that Wendy's already put her hand up. Did you have a question for us, Wendy, or was that an accidental hand raise? Do you want me to unmute you and oh, there you go.
I've already done it, yeah. Hello. No, it wasn't an accidental hand raise, and it isn't a question. It was just more of I just wanted to share an experience that I've had in helping, what I hope is helping somebody point them in a direction that helps them play in it more comfortably and access it. So if that's something you're open to hearing, I'm glad to share it.
We would love to. Absolutely love to.
Okay, great. As I recall, this webinar is about relationships. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And so one of the things that I found helpful, because I've been around this work or this conversation going on 3 years now, And one of the things that I think is very, very helpful was for me, and it seems to be helpful for other people when I speak to them, when they're in doubt about, you don't understand. If you had my life, you'd be
Yeah.
upset too, or you would not, you'd be anxious or feeling hopeless and helpless too if you had my circumstances. And so what I found has been helpful is, especially, I don't know, especially women, maybe I'm meet more women than men, I don't know, but it is to share, like for instance, you two, aunt and niece, you love each other, you know each other well, and let's just say my niece came up to me and she said, oh, forget it, I'm never going to get married. I'm a loser. I can't keep a guy. I'm too ugly. I'm just never gonna, I'm never gonna have a relationship. I'm just never gonna have that. And as her aunt or as another person or her friend or her sister or whatever, I would know that she's in a down mood and that she doesn't see her okayness.
Yeah.
And she really does believe that her lot in life is to be out in the cold. Nobody's going to love her. And you know, and I know, everybody in the world would know that that's not true. and that's not accurate, but doesn't mean that it doesn't feel true to that person. Doesn't mean that it seems 100%. I can give you 5 reasons why I'm accurate about this. This guy left me. I looked in the mirror this morning. I have a pimple over here. There's 17 reasons why this is true. I'm too ugly to get married, kind of thing. And so we all know what it's like to minister to, or to love, or to gently hear somebody who's in that hard of a place.
Yeah.
So we would know what to say or not say most of the time. We might say, oh, you know what? I need to go off and do some grocery shopping. You want to come with? Why don't we have a cup of tea? Or, you know what? I just got the best bubble bath. Let me draw you a bath. Or sometimes you might be very direct and say, oh, now, Wendy, of course you're pretty. Of course you're going to have but a lot of times you know that the person just can't hear that.
Yeah.
So you might try to redirect them in some way. And because you know that they're not accurate. So my suggestion to those people is, since you already know how to do that for your niece or your sister or your friend, I'm asking you, when those thoughts come up for yourself, to say, wait a minute, what would I say if this were somebody I loved?
Yeah.
And that's basically what you just shared with, wow, now I know why Deb was going through that mess. Deb ministered to you because now I know what words make sense. So it's the exact same thing, but it's just a little bit of a different spin on it. And it has been very helpful where people say, oh, yeah, that's right. A lot of us get into a place where we're not right. We're inaccurate. We're letting, our mind is telling us things that is not true. And we can help pull somebody back from the brink with our words or our presence or our kindness or our loving attention. And so if I could just use some words, loving attention, a nice smile to myself, rather than just keep on running with that bad thought. So that was what I wanted to share. Thanks.
Thank you. That was
Thank you.
lovely. Thank you. Yeah, and absolutely. We do know. We do know. And sometimes, yeah, very often one of the things I've noticed, even on webinars and things like this, the words that are coming out of my mouth, I think, yeah, they're probably for you more than they're for anyone else.
Yeah, and we can be extremely good at knowing what to say to someone in front of us, and then when it's our stuff, this is where the thought feeling thing comes in for me, is we can get so lost in the thoughts and absolutely believe they're true, and yet in exactly that same moment somebody can walk up to us with the exact same problem and we can utterly see through theirs. But that to me is that whole, we are gifted with thought, and whilst it doesn't always look like a gift, it's this gift and this incredible ability to create these stories in our head that rival anything Hollywood can put out on the screens. We have a special effects team that is it blows my own mind, let alone, you know, what other people can come out with. And that for me is, that's exactly what you're kind of pointing to there, is we can get so caught up in those thoughts, and then we get the kind of feelings that come with them, and then, oh well, I've got the feeling, so the thoughts must be true, they're telling me something, I need to change the other person, or I need to, you know, whatever it might be. And I know I do this when my sister and I have conversations. She'll tell me something about what's going on for her, and I'm there going, well, I can see that's a story, that's so damn obvious, and I can be having exactly the same thinking, and it's just, oh, well, that, I mean, mine's totally real. And it's so convincing, isn't it?
Which and that was one of the reasons why, you know, we like to start with self and self-love, to kind of see through. It's incredibly helpful to be able to see through your own stuff. And I think you become, like you said, you know, if there's someone else, a friend, your sister, your niece, someone else that you would like to help, one of the things that I notice, you know, when I look back at who I used to be, I used to kind of want to help other people, but I wasn't in a great place myself. And one of the things that I have noticed that has really, really shifted for me is how helpful I can be to other people from my own place of grounding. Like, if it felt to me like when I was parenting my children and when I was trying to be helpful to other people, it felt like I was drowning, or I was in quicksand or something, and I was kind of trying to help them, you know, from this place. And yet, having discovered a little bit more about the truth of who I am, that has changed everything in relationships for me, because I do it from a much more grounded place within myself. I feel like I have a very firm foundation that I stand on, so it's kind of, you know, a much more easy to help other people, which is why we point a lot to the self-love, because I think if we can apply this to ourselves and can see, you know, yeah, we're the same too, you know, we're okay, we have this okayness within us, it's hugely helpful. So yeah, thank you, that was really lovely, thank you for sharing.
So we have had an anonymous, like, offline question that's come in before the webinar. So no one else seems to have raised their hand or put any comments in. So for now, we'll go with that question. And that was, the question is that we have, sorry, try and get my tongue around this. Someone has said they've seen a lot of what we're kind of doing, and that we're talking about relationships and stuff tonight, and they've heard some of what we shared on the 5 days around thought, feeling, and this okayness, and they want to know a little bit more about how those two things connect. How is it that understanding the thought, feeling, and the okayness within them how can that help in terms of an impact on their relationships? How does that kind of lead into healthier relationships?
Yeah, and I just touched on it then, didn't I?
So as you were saying, I was like, oh, that's that question.
Spoiler, answering the question.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think kind of the better place that you come from, definitely for me, as a parent and being, you know, having a partner, I think I always used to think that I had to kind of put them first, as in quite a detrimental way to myself. I kind of didn't take care of my basic needs. And I know this is a thing that I've shared before, and a lot of people say this, you know, if you go on an aeroplane or something like that and you have a small child with you, when they do the safety announcements, they kind of say, you know, if there is an emergency in the plane and your oxygen mask falls down, make sure you put your own oxygen mask on before you attempt to do anything, you know, to help your child. And everything in you, you know, kind of says, no, you've got to help your child first. You've got to help your child first. But it is very much, do you know, if you give that away, give something away that you haven't got, it's going to be very detrimental to you. So it kind of, one of the first things that I would say is, you know, what happens when we move into this place and begin to kind of find out about this deeper truth of who we are, this okayness we have, and when we find out how our experience is created via this thought, feeling, connection, that is a way that we fill ourselves up with love. It's kind of built into the system that knowing those things fills you with love. And the love that overflows from you is so powerful. You know, if you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel because you've got nothing to try and give somebody something from there, it's nowhere near as pure and beautiful and helpful as the love that overflows from you when you have a deeper understanding of who you are. I think it's more patient, it's more kind, it's easier to share. It just, you can't stop it kind of coming out everywhere. and people kind of feel that and are drawn to you. So I don't know what you're seeing around that. But
I think one of the things I always think is quite helpful is to talk from kind of a personal example. And I know, like Deb said at the beginning, one of the reasons we talk so much about relationships and self-love is because that is without doubt where we've had the biggest insights, the biggest shifts. And for me, in my relationship, it was definitely one of the very first things that had a massive impact on my relationship, was knowing that my feelings were not coming from my partner behaving in the wrong way.
Or even the right way.
Or even the right way, yeah. That
on
happens.
the occasions when you did that.
Yeah, and that massively, like humongously changed something for me, because I'd lived for a long time where my partner had to do the right things, and for him, poor chap, those things changed all the time. Like the rules changed all the time, so he was never, you know, if it worked that way round, he was never going to keep up anyway. And so when I really saw that my feelings are not coming from whether he does what I think he should do, whether he says what I think he should say, whether he doesn't say things when I think he shouldn't, you know, all those things I kind of made up in my head, as I started to see that my feelings were just coming from whatever thoughts I was having in the moment, which was usually, you've got this wrong, mate. As I really started to see that, it just took so much weight off my shoulders and so much kind of perceived weight on him, because he didn't have to then, he was constantly trying to do what he thought was the right thing that I needed him to do. And that is just a huge pressure on someone. And I was constantly trying to explain to him where he'd gone wrong, and, you know, or fall out with him because I just can't explain this to you again. That it was all of that was going on for me a lot of the time. And the more I saw that those feelings that were happening for me were happening just because of my thinking and nothing more, nothing bigger, simply my thinking in the moment, the less there was for me to have to do. There wasn't something to fix. There wasn't a relationship to, you know, try and fix or end or any of those things. We just were able to be with each other in whatever moment was happening for us. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we don't have our moments now where he does something wrong. No, but what I really see now is that when those things happen, when I have those moments where I go into, and I still do, he's got something wrong, I need to tell him, what comes to me really quite quickly is this understanding that it is not something he's done or not done. It's the thinking I'm having right now. And I am way less likely to act from that space, and way less likely to, you know, start an argument or whatever it might be, because I just know where that's coming from. And I also know that that feeling passes, and, you know, 5 minutes later, a couple of hours later, I can just look at him with love again, and there's nothing that needs to change. And that has just made, I can't even tell you what a difference that's made in our relationship.
Mm-hmm. And what's coming to me when you're talking about that is something I know we had a little bit of a discussion about this the other day, and we were talking about trust. And I know trust is a huge one in relationships. And, you know, I used to think that I had trust issues, you know, because of things that had happened to me in this. And what I realized, what I had an insight around trust was that how I had set trust up was that it would be like, yeah, I am going to trust you to do what I think you should do. And I think very often we kind of have trust accidentally, that's kind of what we think trust is. You know, if you kind of take me and Bec, if I say, oh yeah, I trust Bec, what it is, yeah, Bec, I trust you to do all the things I think you should do. You know, I trust you to be the person I think you should be. And by accident, I never saw that. I never realized that. And to me, it was kind of when I changed it, when I saw that I'd done that, and I changed it to, I trust you to be you. I trust you to do what's right for you. And that was a game changer for me, kind of seeing through. And what I'm going to do is trust you enough to just love you. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to show up and love you, because that is what looks really important to me. And I'm going to trust you to make your own judgments, and I'm going to trust you to be the person you need or should or whatever. I don't know what the word is. I'm going to trust you to be you, because, you know, if we go back to the garden example, you know what flower you are. You know how to shine in this life and be beautiful in the way you know, that is right for you. And even if that is that you need to leave me or not be with me or whatever it is, yeah, I'm going to trust you with that. And that has completely changed things in my relationship, seeing trust in that way. So I don't know whether anyone can identify with that, but it's really, yeah, we have trust set up as that, you know, yeah, you'll do what I want you to do.
Yeah. So I just want to check if there's anyone else that's got questions before we move on to share a bit about the 90-day challenge. You can either raise your hand and mute yourself, or you can type in the box if you would prefer not to speak. And it can be about anything at all, the 5-day challenge, self-love, relationships, what we had for dinner. We don't mind, we're pretty open, we'll share most things. Oh, they're a quiet bunch tonight, Deb.
We must be answering everything.
That's no worries, we can talk for England, so we'll keep going. So yeah, I think that was the question we'd had kind of prior to the webinar, so I feel like that's answered. So I think what we want to share a little bit now is what we've got coming up, because the 5-day challenge was so much fun and we love the challenges so much that the next thing we're doing is a 90-day challenge. You might have seen put a few things around online and stuff about it, but we wanted to share with you guys some more kind of what we think the benefits are going to be of that challenge, what we're going to explore, and kind of what's involved if you do decide to join in with that with us. So we'll start with the benefits. So the 90-day challenge, as you probably already gathered from the 5 days, we really like to set ourselves challenges, and without doubt we see that, as I said earlier, we see the benefit in taking part. And so 90 days sounds like a long time when you kind of compare it to 5 days, but there's something we've actually been playing around with a little bit recently around changing our kind of schedule to do 3-month things or 90-day things. And there's something about 3 months being a time period that really makes a difference. Like if you're immersed in something or committed to something for that time period, it really changes something. It really has an impact that
seems to.
That's like when you try, a lot of people try and do something for a whole year and it can be too much or too long or too big a commitment. And anything kind of shorter than 3 months doesn't always seem to have the benefit
sticking power.
Yeah, really sticking with it and following through and seeing the changes. So for us, there's this whole benefit of being in this conversation, being kind of immersed in and looking at how we really work, the sort of stuff we pointed to tonight, and how relationships really work, and doing that for a really kind of solid period of time. Because we've seen when we work with people, what can happen sometimes is you go so far along the track and then you go, oh no, that's fine, I've kind of got what I wanted now, and then almost back away. And for me, it's that point where we almost feel like we want to back away, where we need to just dive in a little bit more and have a little bit longer. And we've found from experience and from a few times we've done these 90-day challenges that seems to be almost the optimum time period to really dive in. There does seem
something magic about it. But.
Yeah. So for us, there's kind of this benefit of being in this conversation and challenging yourself in that way for kind of a 3-month period. So that is what we'll be kind of aiming to kind of structure for those 3 months, those 90 days. And we've got a very special bonus. We're very excited about this. For anyone that decides to sign up to the 90 days and does so before the end of the day on the 6th of August, so that's a week from today, we are going to throw in a free 1-hour mentoring session with us. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Deb?
Well, there's something that we kind of haven't mentioned here, and I don't know whether it's been out there or not, but the 90-day challenge, the title of the 90-day challenge is It's All About Relationships, and all in capital letters, because one of the reasons, as I said, we love to talk about relationship stuff, and one of the reasons that we do that, and one of the things that I've seen, is pretty much everything can kind of be traced back to the way that we relate to stuff. Initially, the way we relate to ourselves, and then the way we relate to other people, to situations, to circumstances, to whatever it is that you're seeing. It kind of really feels to me that I remember going to a business meeting, and it was very early on in the days when I was starting to try and run this business. And I went to this business meeting, and it seemed to be full of all these, there was a lot of men, and they seemed to be having like a lot of serious discussions. And I was kind of like, I just really don't know why I'm here and quite how I fit in here. It felt a little bit strange. And I was very out of my comfort zone. And then somebody stood up to speak, and they kind of said, right, what we're going to speak about today is relationships, and the fact that life and everything, it's all about relationships, whether that is a business, at home, or anything. And if you've got this relationship bit down, you'll kind of do okay in life. And then I kind of found my grounding then, and I kind of like, yeah, I could really see that actually, and kind of moving forward, that's very much what I've seen. If we know who we are, if we know ourselves, so we have a good relationship with ourselves, it is way easier to have a good relationship with other people and with circumstances and everything. It seems like that's a really good foundation. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to say that. And then so I've been doing mentoring. Mentoring is the thing that I love the most. I love lots of things. I love everything, to be fair. I just love my life. I love doing mentoring. The people I've run group mentoring about 6 times, I think, and done some one-to-one mentoring with people. And I just really, it's powerful. It's lovely. Really enjoy doing it. And so what we thought that we would do was just throw in, if anyone's interested in doing this challenge with us, because the 90 days is a paid program. So if anybody does want to kind of join us, we thought, wouldn't it be great to just let people sample what it's like to have a mentoring session with us? So we thought we would do that. So really excited.
So do you want to share a little bit, Deb, about what we're looking to explore over those 90 days? Because we're kind of going to expand out from the 5-day challenge, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, as we said, it's about relationships, and what we've seen around this understanding, what we've seen from our own experience and working with people, is that it almost seems as if there's 3 things that we share about, really, and it feels like we have a human experience. Well, I don't know about you, but I do. I can feel incredibly human some days, and I actually really love my human experience. I love the fact that I'm a grandma. I love the fact that I'm an auntie. I love the fact that I've got a partner. I love the fact that I live on a farm. I think it's an absolute gift to be a human being, but sometimes it can be tough. It's not always a party being a human being, but there is no doubt it doesn't look like it to me anyway, that I have a human experience. And then it feels like there's something behind that human experience. You know, we have this spiritual deeper side, whether you see that as God or whether you see that as an energy, whatever words it is you put on that. It feels like there's something deeper that isn't quite so obvious as my human experience is. So it feels like we're going to be exploring our human experience. We're going to be exploring our spiritual experience. You know, what is that? What does that even mean? What are you even talking about? We kind of alluded to that in the challenge when we looked at that deeper part of us. And then we're going to be exploring the absolutely beautiful way that those two parts of us come together to create a balance, a space. I don't know what word works for you there, but to balance and space are the two words that I use the most. There's a place where these two things come together. And when we begin to see that, and that is, to me, what it feels like this understanding has opened my eyes to. When I see that, it seems that our human experience is the best experience that's available. It kind of helps in places where the rubber hits the road. When I first came across this, my youngest son is 21 now, and he was a teenager anyway. He kind of went through those teenage years while I was playing around. So I did challenges around my teenage son. So you know, he was kind of So that's when I was sort of learning these things, and it blew me away how helpful it was on those days when he would come in from school and throw his school bag on the floor and swear at me and refuse to do what I wanted him to do and tell me he was never going back to school again. And, you know, he quit college one day and he almost punched, in fact, he did punch somebody at one time. And at those times, I was a parent on my own and dealing with those kind of rubber hits the road, you know, the stuff that human beings deal with day to day and illnesses and difficulties. It just blew my mind how the understanding of these two things, our humanity and our spirituality, this deeper part in us, seeing the beautiful way that those two things are made to go together. It changed my experience of those kinds of things, the real things that bother us, that human beings get into trouble with. So yeah, we're going to be exploring that.
Yeah, that sounds good. So on a practical level, the kind of what you'll be getting over those 90 days will be an email every day. There's a Facebook group that is just for the people that sign up to the 90-day challenge. There will be regular challenges. They won't be every day like they were on the 5 days, because we think that might be a bit too much.
Yeah, 90
90 challenges. But regularly throughout those 90 days, there will be challenges that, like Deb says, it comes down to where the rubber hits the road. When life appears to come at us with stuff, it's really good to be able to see, practically speaking, how understanding this helps. So those challenges will be about kind of really exploring that and embedding that. So that will be throughout the 90 days. There'll be 3 live webinars similar to this, where there'll be a chance to kind of talk about what we're sharing, ask questions, maybe even share what challenges you've been getting up to, and that kind of thing. And then, because we just love having fun, we'll throw in some bonus surprises through the 90 days. We've got a few ideas on what they might be, but there'll be some surprises throughout those 3 months. So that's kind of what we have going on over that challenge. So we just wanted to share, because you guys had really got really engaged and involved with the 5 days, and there was some people that asked particularly about what we'd got coming up next. We wanted to share a bit about where we're going with this next, and of course there will be some more free 5-day challenges coming soon.
Yeah, we're definitely, we're not going anywhere from the Facebook group that we created for this challenge. We've had some beautiful interaction in there, and so we're going to be in there lots and sharing stuff anywhere. I just don't think we could go away even if we wanted to now.
No.
You know, it's kind of, yeah, we're here to stay. So
yeah, and we always kind of want to hear from you.
Very much so.
Shared a poll today asking for your ideas on series of videos. We want to do our next video series, and then we'll always be doing some Facebook Lives and things like that. So if you've got questions, if we haven't talked about something tonight that you wanted to know more about, we're always going to be around, kind of being as helpful as we can, sharing what we see, and getting up to some crazy fun challenges, no doubt.
Yeah, we've got a few challenges of our own as well that we're getting. I mean, one of the things is obviously for the 90 days we join in everything, everything, even when we write the emails, we then send them to ourselves and read them, and because we're a little bit crazy like that, and we join in. We joined in the challenges when you did the 5-day challenge. We were joining in, so we will be joining in with everything that goes on anywhere. So kind of run out of what I was going to say there.
I think I don't know, but I think you were going to say we've also got a personal 90-day challenge that's where I think you were going with that.
Yes.
Shall we share that now, or shall we put
go
it in the
for
group?
it. Go.
So it was a conversation you had, wasn't it, with somebody that was our workshop the other day, around this person was doing a year-long challenge, I think they were doing, of not buying any new clothes. So if they had to buy clothes, it would be kind of second hand, that kind of thing. And it really sparks me and you, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Because I'm kind of getting curious about the world that we live in and how we look after the world, and it feels like a good time to start taking responsibility with how I'm looking after this world that I'm going to leave to my children and my grandson. So I'm kind of playing around with that sort of thing. And this person was talking about this challenge of not buying anything new. So we thought that we would do it for 90 days. And I think I'm going to go for the whole year, but I'm going to do it in 90-day chunks, because I kind of like that I like doing it like that. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing, and you're going to join in.
We're going to do it together, and we're going to share a little bit in the group about what we're up to around. So that's purely a personal challenge for us, to see at least for 3 months whether we can be a lot more conscious about what we kind of buy and how we use products, and that kind of thing. So look out for some stuff on that, just for fun. So I think that was...
Yeah, I think we're almost there. We the other thing that we'll kind of just say here tonight is we had some real issues around our technology and our mailing list. It was going back about a month or 2 ago or something like that. And as far as we know, I think we have sorted it out. But I know there was a lot of people who were on our mailing list who are no longer on our mailing list, but they're not aware of that. So
technology.
Don't you just love it? So if you are not sure whether you're on our mailing list or not, we'll bung a link. We'll be putting links around the place, and if you do want to hear from us, then please do sign up to it, because if you've already signed up, it won't let you do it again, and it's absolutely fine. But if for any reason you were one of the ones who has fallen off, we would hate to lose you.
We would. So look out for that. And just lastly, I would just say, we will share the recording of this, will be coming out to you all tomorrow, if you had signed up for the 5 days, and it will be around on YouTube and that sort of thing. The cost of the challenge, good question, Sue.
I completely forgot that.
So the 90-day challenge is £150, and if you want to join in with that and sign up, we'll share the link to how you do that with the replay of this, and I think we'll put it in the comments on YouTube and that kind of thing. You can contact us. You know where we are.
And if anyone's got any questions about it, please feel free to ask. It's absolutely fine.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's been really lovely to see you all and catch up and share some stuff around what we kind of saw, and hopefully what was helpful for you over the 5 days. It's been fabulous.
See you all again soon. Take care.
Have
a lovely evening.
Bye.